Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
How you doing, man?
Well, the universe kind of shit in my lap today, which is a little unfortunate. Had a bit of an experience with a flat tire, but I'm working through it. Everything's fine. Everyone's fine. So no worries on that front. But
you had that flat tire at a pretty convenient place.
I did.
Though.
Yeah, I mean, it left me right in the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot. So I, got some coffee and some donuts while I was waiting on everything to get taken care of. So still working my way through that. It's just going to be an unfortunate expense kind of added to the register. But that's just what happens. That's just how life goes sometimes.
That's the joys of owning a vehicle, Got to keep up with that shit.
Indeed. Well, how have you been?
I've been all right. I got a little ill yesterday. Took the day off and proceeded to lay in bed all day long and watch a bunch of shit. So,
well, I imagine we'll talk about it probably later then, yeah?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, very good, very good. This week, we're talking Marvel's Jessica Jones Season 2 at long last.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we get any further, I did want to mention again that our newest bonus episode covering Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is available exclusively through Patreon. So if you're interested in listening to that as a follow-on to the Phase 1 episode that we've released publicly, head on over to patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat or to the premium section on our website, www.watchreviewrepeat.com. So without further ado, I would like to hear what fun fact you have lined up this week.
Fun fact. This is going to pertain to Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones was the first entry in 2001 in Marvel's R-rated, if you will, adult-themed comic line, Marvel Max.
Yeah, good old Max imprint. Yeah, I have quite a few of those Punisher Max series collected in the trade form.
Yeah, it's where a lot of entries were able to run loose and wild with whatever they wanted, whether it be sex, drugs, violence, whatever. And Jessica Jones was the first entry in that line, and she ran 28 issues from 01 to 04 within the Max line. So it's a little fun fact for you, a little bit of comic book history.
All right. Well, I like the theme you've got going here with keeping your fun facts on topic. I think that's a winning strategy.
That is courtesy of Henry dropping a fun fact after I dropped my fact about the Gherkins. He had a fun fact about an actress, and I was like, that's probably a pretty good idea. So,
well, there you go.
That's what I'm running with. Yeah, courtesy of Henrique.
Well, then I'll thank Henry as well. All right, let's get into the news then. We're going to start with Indiana Jones 5. Which we know is happening, and Steven Spielberg has announced that shooting is expected to start in April of 2019 in the United Kingdom.
Oh, okay. Starring, is it going to be starring Homeboy?
Harrison Ford will be will be coming back.
That's not who I was going to say.
I don't know. Are you talking about Shia LaBeouf?
Shia, yeah. Are we starring Shia LaBeouf?
As far as I know, Shia LaBeouf has nothing to do with this movie. As a side note, Shia LaBeouf is making a movie about Shia LaBeouf's life. I don't know if you've seen anything about that. Interestingly enough, he will not be playing Shia LaBeouf in it. He will be playing the father of Shia LaBeouf, which is the most Shia LaBeouf thing to ever Shia LaBeouf.
Make your dreams come true. Just do it.
Do it! Just do it!
Yesterday you said today, and today you're saying tomorrow. Just do it. So inspirational, man. So good.
Yeah. I didn't think to add that to the news because I was just like, I don't know that I want to talk about it, but it came up anyway, so we talked about it, and we can now say that we've officially covered it. Moving to Indiana Jones, the great Harrison Ford will be reprising his role as Indiana Jones. He's getting up there in the years, but apparently he's game for this thing. So, like I said, Spielberg's coming back to direct it, and the movie's going to be written by David Koepp, who previously worked with Spielberg on Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park: The Lost World, and says that he also wrote something called Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I'm unfamiliar with. Don't think,
What is that movie?
I don't know. Never heard of it. Which, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I mean, Indiana Jones 5. Was there a fourth one? Maybe that's what... I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe they got their numbers wrong. I think that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Couldn't be a fourth Indiana Jones movie.
God, that movie was so shit. That was such a terrible Indiana Jones.
Well, we know that the trend so far is that the odd-numbered entries into the Indiana Jones franchise are all great. So, by that logic, 5 will be great, right?
Right, absolutely.
There's nothing that could go wrong. So, look, I'm willing to give it a chance. The lack of Shia, I think, is a good thing. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, there's really nothing to go off of here. Maybe Ready Player One might be a good indication of where Spielberg is at with kind of blockbuster talents these days. I mean, if Ready Player One turns out to be anything close to watchable, then I think that's probably something that bodes well for this movie going forward.
Or he might be in Alien Covenant status.
Well, that's my hope, is that he's not reached the Ridley Scott level of incompetence.
That's it. Ridley Scott. I was searching for his name. Yeah, Ridley Scott. Hopefully he's not falling off the bandwagon. Hopefully he's not a senile old man. So we'll see. We
can only hope. We'll see. All right. We've got quite a few trailers lined up, actually, for this episode. First of which is the newly retitled, oh God, it pains me to say this movie's title, Sicario, Day of the Soldado.
Day of the Soldado.
I don't know what they're thinking here. Just call it Soldado. I just don't get it. Like, I mean, I get that you want to have like Sicario in there somewhere, but is it that big of a brand that having it off the title is going to really impact your marketing campaign all that much?
Sicario Soldado.
Well, it was Sicario 2. Well, it was Soldado. Then it was Sicario 2 Soldado. Now it's Sicario Day of the Soldado. What
does Soldado mean?
Soldier. So it's Hitman Day of the Soldier. Does that?
That doesn't really make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense, does it? I mean, neither did Hitman 2 Soldier. I mean, I guess theoretically that made less sense, but
it could have been the first entry could have been Hitman, second entry could be Soldier.
Soldier, right? Yeah, Sicario, Soldado, and then if you want to do a third one, then pick another Spanish word that would have fit, and then I don't know, whatever. I mean, it's a sequel to Sicario. We know that, but they want to make sure that everyone knows that. No, it looks pretty good. Yeah, I say I'm getting a little off track there. I apologize because I just don't understand that. But the movie itself, I think, looks good. I do agree. I mean, certainly very stylistically different from the first Sicario, which again is another reason that maybe distancing it from that movie would be probably a good thing. But okay, all right. Let me stay on track here. I think, purely from the footage here, I'm actually kind of surprised by where it looks like they're taking the storyline here. We've got more of like a POV character than I expected. I thought it would just kind of be, Benicio and Brolin just kicking ass, but it looks like they're going to be butting heads a bit, and there's a girl stuck in the crossfire.
Is this prequel or sequel? Sequel, right?
Correct. It is a sequel.
Yeah. Okay. I tell you one thing that remained. Something that stuck out to me in the first movie was the noise the helicopter made, where it's like a drowned out, kind of like bassy helicopter noise. I don't know if this is probably stupid, but it's got the helicopter sounds the same in the trailer as it did in the Sicario, which was cool.
The whole trailer itself had elements of that. I mean, it had the whole. It was. I'm pretty sure it's just lifted wholesale from Johan Johansson's score. There's the whole.
Yeah, it's cool.
Which his score here, obviously what they're using here, but his whole score in Sicario was excellent, and certainly I would think that carrying forward those motifs into this movie, I don't know who's doing the score on this one off the top of my head, but I think that keeping that element of it, even though this thing obviously looks a bit different, I think that, I would think you'd want to emulate that feel as much as you can, because the first Sicario is excellent. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think this looks great. Someone else pointed out online, we've been given Jim from The Office the early 2018, who won the year nod, but I think Josh Brolin's got to be a contender too.
That's true.
He's got this. He's got Avengers: Infinity War, and he's got Deadpool too. So That's a pretty good year.
I don't know. We got some contenders.
You do. We'll have to wait and see how everything plays out, because any one of these things that any of these guys are involved in could also be bad. It's hard to say. We don't want them to be bad. We're certainly looking forward to pretty much everything everyone here is involved in. But
I don't know. Jim from The Office has got some serious shit coming out. I mean, he's got 4 or 5 things coming out this year.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. He's been busy. Let's put it that way.
Fuck yeah, man.
Any last thoughts on Sicario?
I'm excited about it. I'm a huge Benicio fan. So anything he's in, I'm usually down for. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right. Well, I put this little bit of news in here to throw you a bone. Dragon Ball Super is getting a movie. I don't know if that's news to you. It's certainly news to me as someone that only tangentially pays attention to Dragon Ball Super via this podcast when you tell me about it, or when I happen to be there while you're watching it. So I will let you kind of elaborate on this basically 30-second teaser that we got for an upcoming movie. What'd you think about that? Did it get you hyped?
Yeah, it got me hyped, dude. I'm excited about it. The art looked a little bit, the animation's different, which is kind of neat. It looks different anyways.
Does it look a little bit higher budget, or?
Yeah, it just looks, yeah. It looks a little bit more attention to detail. You know what I mean? Which, I don't know. I mean, last episode of Super was animated really well too, but this looks like it's got a different feel to it, which is cool. It's got a standalone film kind of feel to it.
Okay.
No, it looks cool, man. I'm excited about it. That's all I got to say about that. There's not a lot there.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add myself. Let's talk about the official trailer for something called Under the Silver Lake. Did you catch that by any chance?
No, but it's from the same people that did It Follows. I saw the headline, but I didn't watch the trailer.
So it's Andrew Garfield, Riley Keough, and Topher Grace in it, and it looks really good, really visually interesting. Certainly having the same director as It Follows inspires confidence. No, I think it looks good. I won't get into it too much. I'm sorry, I accidentally left it off the news thing. I had the trailer pulled up as part of our news segment.
You caught me off guard. I don't have an opinion.
I know. Well, I went to go look at our news, and I'm just like, ooh, I didn't put it there. Maybe he watched it. I'll try it. I'll see what happens. But maybe next week I can put it back on there, and we can talk about it again. How's that?
There we go. That sounds good.
All right. Did you watch the trailer for Terminal, though?
I did.
Teaser trailer.
What the fuck is that all about, dude? Tell me about it.
I have no idea what this is. The teaser came out the day that we're recording this, and the plot synopsis that I have in front of me says this movie follows 2 assassins with a sinister mission, a fatally ill teacher, an enigmatic janitor, and a waitress with a double life. Murderous consequences unravel as their lives meet at the hands of a criminal mastermind wanting revenge. I didn't get any of that from the trailer, to be fair.
No, I thought it sounded like some sort of twisted Alice in Wonderland shit.
Yeah, it did feel very Alice in Wonderland. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I mean, this is a teaser trailer that, like, I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by the cast: Margot Robbie, Simon Pegg, Mike Myers. Like, that's cool. Sounds interesting based on the plot, but I didn't get any of that out of the trailer that we saw. But there's enough there that I'm intrigued by it without, I don't want to say that I'm excited for it, or, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I can form any sort of fully formed opinion on it because there's just not much to really go off of.
I think that the trailer was artistically drafted. I think, I don't know, based on the style and the mystique of the trailer, I think the movie looks intriguing.
Yeah.
It was well made enough to pique your interest, at least, you know?
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I mean, I think it's an interesting thing. You know, I don't know exactly how to respond to it, but I'm intrigued and I would like to see more. It's actually not it's not too far away. May 11th, 2018 is its scheduled release date, and I imagine we'll probably see a more proper trailer. I would imagine prior to it coming out in theaters, but we'll have to wait and see how it looks when that trailer comes around. So, last bit of movie news. Tessa Thompson is joining her Thor Ragnarok co-star Chris Hemsworth in the upcoming Men in Black spinoff.
Yeah!
I mean, I was already on board with this based on Chris Hemsworth joining, and now you tell me that Valkyrie and Thor are going to be hanging out again. I'm really liking this so far. I think this is pretty cool. I think the time is right to kind of do a new Men in Black type thing. Something that, I mean, for me, like, it doesn't even upset me again that this is something that is, as far as we can tell, kind of unrelated to the Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith iteration of Men in Black. I mean, it's been so long since really even Men in Black 3 came out that fuck it, yeah,
reboot it,
do a new thing. I mean, I don't think this is quite a reboot. My understanding is it's probably the same universe. It's just not going to be
that's fine.
About
that's
the same agents. It's a pseudo reboot. I think that's a good way to handle it. So, yeah,
I like Tessa a whole lot.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with. I mean, you probably can't go wrong, to be fair. But so far, things have not gone wrong. All right, I don't want to naysay things. I think this is a good sign.
Oh yeah.
All right, are you ready to move into TV news?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
All right. I have the one piece of news that may get you to rewatch or at least catch up on a CW show.
What's that, man? Tell me about it. It better be fucking good.
It's pretty good. Matt Ryan, who you may know as John Constantine.
Constantine, okay.
Will be joining DC's Legends of Tomorrow as a series regular for season 4.
Ooh.
Is that enough?
Yeah, that may be getting going on.
And just to help the cause, Legends of Tomorrow has shorter seasons as well, so it's a little faster to get through those.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Also, it's far and away the best current CW show, DC CW show, I should add. Oh, so
how many seasons am I behind now?
I mean, you'd have to answer that question for yourself. I don't know. Did you watch season 1?
Yeah, I watched season 1. The last episode I think I watched was a Civil War episode.
What?
There was like a Civil War episode.
Oh.
Or maybe an American Revolution episode.
I thought you were talking about like literal Marvel Civil War, and I'm like, what are you on about, dude? No, this is DC. The actual Civil War. Yes, that big historical event. Yes, I follow now. I don't know. I mean, they kind of go to a different time period each episode, so I kind of lose track of where they've been when that would have been.
The next episode would have been a NASA episode, I think.
I
don't know.
I remember what you're talking about, but I wouldn't be able to place them within the seasons. But either way, it's in its 3rd season right now, and to be fair, it has not technically been renewed for a 4th season. So this is
what?
This is news that obviously obviously they're banking on that happening, and they're basically making sure that Matt Ryan would be available to be able to reprise the role of Constantine if in fact it does get picked up. But its ratings are pretty in line with the rest of the universe. I think it reviews pretty well, I think, relative to the other. I mean, CW doesn't really cancel a lot of their shit unless it's just absolutely abysmal in terms of ratings, and not all their CW shows perform fairly well, I would say. So I would say that if they're okay with breaking this news, then they're feeling pretty confident about their chances of getting picked up for a 4th season. So, and I hope it does, because Matt Ryan is great as Constantine, and B, Legends is also great, so put those two together. Fuck yeah, like that's something that will immediately inspire me to get back on the CW train, which I've been sorely lacking on. Our listeners might have noticed that I haven't had any CW power rankings in probably like a good 2+ months. It's probably because I haven't watched anything. I will eventually, I just don't know when. But I think this is good news. So, speaking of other comic book TV shows, we got a new look at Marvel's Cloak and Dagger coming to Freeform, also known as ABC Family.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
They can try to trick us, but we know what's going on there. That said, I think this looks way better than anything on Freeform has any right to. It's definitely got a very teeny feel to it. I kind of get that, but there's a lot more power usage going on, at least from this trailer, than I kind of expected. Walking in, I figured it'd be more relationships and drama and all that, and superhero stuff on the back burner. But it seems like there's a lot going on here, and I thought this looked solid.
Yeah, it looked all right. We'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, it's another one that I still haven't watched. Runaways. Like I said, I'm behind on all the CW stuff, so I'm a little bit superheroed out to some extent, which, we say that as we're talking about a superhero show of sorts for our main content this episode. But no, I will probably give this a look at some point. I'll probably set it to record on my DVR, but it might sit on my DVR for months before I get around to it. Just kind of depends on how I'm feeling. And this does premiere on June 7th, so there's a little bit of time before it comes around. So I might have some, TV shows cleared at that point, so I can have enough time to watch this when it comes out. So we'll see.
Nightflyers, dude. Holy shit, Nightflyers.
Nightflyers, yeah. So, sounds like you're liking what you're seeing from this so far?
Yeah. George R. R. Martin set in space with like a sunshine horror kind of vibe going on. I'm all about it. It looks awesome. I tell you what, man, I don't know where sci-fi is getting the budget to do these shows that they're doing, but holy shit, man. Of course, we haven't seen anything on this yet, but the way they talked up that set design and just from behind the scenes footage of that first look that came out, it looks like they're pouring some money behind it. So I don't know, man. It looks pretty good. What do you think?
Well, I thought that that look that we got definitely sounded very intriguing. It's very Event Horizon is kind of what I'm getting from it. Probably less demonic imagery. I doubt we'll see the types of images that were depicted in Event Horizon on a sci-fi show. If they can't stretch it that far, then massive props. Clearly, television programming has gotten
has evolved.
Yeah, it's definitely it definitely would have evolved. But Martin himself kind of frames it as Psycho in space, so that's a pretty neat comparison to make. 10 episodes. Coming, I believe, later this year. It's actually based off of a 1980 novella. I think, again, based on what we did see, and, there was a lot of talking to people about how, hey, is this show going to be awesome? Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. There's a lot of that, but...
Nothing hypes up a show more than people telling you that it's going to be awesome.
But I will say, based on what footage we did get, certainly the setting of it, I think, is very exciting. I think that the elements are there to be something that I would certainly be very interested in. And ordinarily sci-fi would be kind of oh boy, but The Expanse, man. I mean, The Expanse for me has completely revitalized my interest in anything that sci-fi does because, I mean, I know that the source material there is good. I don't know anything about Nightflyers' source material. But, yeah, I mean, George R. R. Martin, Psycho in space, Event Horizon type feel. I mean, it's all there. It's all there for me. So I'm on board with this.
Yeah, can't go wrong, man.
All right, and last but not least, before we dive deep into the Marvel Netflix universe and Jessica Jones, we're gonna talk some casting news for Marvel's Daredevil. Actor by the name of Jay Ali has joined the cast of season 3, which we're expecting to return later this year. He is going to be playing a character named Rahul Ray Nadeem, an honest but ambitious FBI agent willing to go any length for his family. And he's going to be joining the returning cast of Charlie Cox, Deborah Ann Wool, Eldon Henson, and Vincent D'Onofrio, who is reprising his role of Wilson Fisk.
All right, we'll see what happens.
Pretty cool. I think it seems that the FBI is going to be heavily involved in this season for some reason. This is not the only bit of casting news we've received that suggests that the FBI will be having an increased presence in this. I don't think we actually talked about it on the show when this news broke, but Wilson Bethel, looking at a news article from November 27th, so this is old news, but Wilson Bethel, an actor, was cast as a FBI agent as well, but per what they released, his actual character that he's playing has been kept under wraps. There is some speculation that he will be playing a Marvel Comics character by the name of Sin Eater, which in the comics is a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent turned NYPD officer that, driven mad by an experimental drug, decides to punish those whom he views as sinful.
Ooh, shit getting real. All right.
Shit's getting real. I think we can expect season 3 to loosely follow the Born Again storyline. And just based on that brief description, it sounds like Sin Eater would tie into that pretty heavily. There's a character by the name of Nuke in the comic books who actually made his Marvel Netflix appearance in Jessica Jones Season 1, and we'll talk about him a little bit more when we talk about Jessica Jones properly, but it kind of sounds like that Sin Eater character might fill that void that the Nuke character might have otherwise played, because it seems like they're okay with just keeping him in Jessica Jones. So, yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I mean, technically, Matt Murdock is dead, as far as everyone in the world knows of Daredevil. So it remains to be seen exactly how Daredevil comes back into the fold, and how Wilson Fisk comes back into the fold, and how the FBI comes into the fold. So lots of people going into the fold, man. We got to see how it plays out.
Many folds.
So many
for the
folds.
Daredevil.
Yeah, so many Daredevil folds. So that is it for the news. Let's talk Marvel's Jessica Jones Season 2. Very briefly, before we get kind of into our thoughts on it, I did want to say that up front that for this entire segment, we're going to be doing full spoilers of Season 1, because it's hard to talk about a Season 2 without talking about what's happened in Season 1. So if you haven't watched Season 1, you're still encouraged to listen, obviously, but just be wary that we'll be spoiling some major elements from Season 1. But if you haven't gotten around to Season 2, fear not, we will have a separate spoiler section specifically for Season 2.
You could also listen to Season 1 spoilers, I suppose.
Yeah, we did an episode on all the Marvel and Netflix shows very, very early on in our podcasting days. Our second episode ever covered all of them. So, yeah, absolutely use our time codes, listen to our Jessica Jones segment within that episode, and maybe get a little bit of a rundown to see how we felt about Season 1, and maybe how that compares to how we feel about Season 2 as we get into this discussion a little further. So, Jessica Jones Season 2, same showrunner, Season 1, Melissa Rosenberg. It is based on the characters, as you talked about at the beginning of this episode, created by Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Gaydos in the series Alias, which was the first appearance of Jessica Jones in the Max comic book series for Marvel. It stars Kristen Ritter as the titular character, Jessica Jones, and alongside her are Rachel Taylor, Carrie-Anne Moss, Ika Darville, and joining the cast for this second season, J.R. Ramirez, Terry Chen, Leah Gibson, and Janek Mateer. Very briefly, Season 2 picks up with private investigator Jessica Jones putting her life back together after she's committed murder. She murdered her tormentor Kilgrave, and now known through the city as a superpowered killer, a new case comes along that forces Jessica to dig into her past and reluctantly confront who she really is. So, Jessica Jones Season 2. I'll let you kind of kick it off maybe with some overall thoughts.
Overall thoughts. I thought that the exploration of each of the individual characters was nice. You get a lot more on the supporting cast than you had in the original, or not the original, in Season 1, I think. So it was nice to see so many dimensions to each one of the people that Jessica surrounds herself with. I thought the season was okay. It didn't really command any. I wasn't overtly excited to keep pushing play. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't aggravated about it, but there was. I watched it because I had started it. Does that make sense?
No, I agree.
So it wasn't a tour de force, or it wasn't something that just, oh shit, I gotta hurry up and watch this next episode. So I mean, it was okay. But as a character piece for a show that you're already invested in, and as a character piece for a cog in the machine, so to speak, it's worth the investment because you do get a lot of return on investment for each of the characters. So I think it was okay. It was entertaining enough. I thought some of it felt contrived.
Well, I think the first season also had that issue here and there of feeling very contrived, certainly in terms of where the plot went. And the amount of times that Kilgrave escaped was like, oh my god, guys, seriously? And I think that this one was contrived in different ways. I thought that I thought that they repaired the sameness that the first season ran into, where it felt like they had one big arc that they repeated. This one was one big arc that they stretched out, I think, a little bit too far.
Absolutely.
I think that, it gets right into it from the beginning, but it's really one big thing all the way through.
I kept expecting a Luke Cage to where they wrap up a big chunk of the series, and then you're going to have a popcorn fart for the end of it. And that's what I expected.
Did you say a popcorn fart?
A popcorn fart. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? A popcorn fart? Never heard that before?
I don't think so, no.
What's another word for a popcorn fart? It's you don't get a lot. You got a little shit ending, right? You got. I don't know how to explain a popcorn fart.
So you're expecting it to shit the bed halfway through?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wasn't expecting that necessarily, but I was expecting a Luke Cage-styled split in the series where you've got one massive storyline that wraps up after maybe 7-8 episodes, and then it kind of changes directions and then deals with a different storyline to
and it's less earned. You know what I'm saying? It's not, because there was so much investment in the first half of the series. The shorter second half of the series, it left you. I don't know. I can't think of my words tonight for some reason.
Are we talking about Luke Cage still?
Yeah, we're talking about Luke Cage.
Okay. Yeah, well, Luke Cage, it was just, I think it was just a sharp drop-off in quality was the biggest issue. It wasn't necessarily the fact that it switched gears. It was the fact that it switched gears to something much worse, which made it feel like Whiplash in some ways, where it's just like, wow, these are really extreme differences between these two halves of the season. So, getting back on track with Jessica Jones, it doesn't have that. It's a self-contained 13-episode arc that spans 13 episodes.
That should have ended in 8, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm leaning with it, is that I think that you could have done this in a shorter span of time, and if you still needed to fill a 13-episode, episode order, then you could have had another storyline either after it or before it. Hell, I still, and I think I mentioned this when we talked about Jessica Jones before, I think that this show would greatly benefit from some procedural episodes of PI Jessica Jones just doing her shit, we get bits and pieces of that, but inevitably once the big storyline comes in, it kind of falls by the wayside, and she doesn't really do her job because she's dealing with other shit. And that's fine, but I think that certainly the nature of this character would really lend itself to episodes of just her kind of doing her thing, little side stories and stuff like that. I guess it could be considered filler, but if it's good filler, then it's fine. I think that you could frame that in a way that adds new dimensions to the characters in a way that they did here, but I think that it could be a little bit more interesting overall, because the problem with, I'd say, this season, the problem I had with this season is that it doesn't have that one quote-unquote hook that I think Season 1 had. Season 1 had Kilgrave, and Kilgrave was such a magnetic character that even though he was an absolutely despicable piece of shit, you couldn't help but keep your eyes on him. Every time he was on screen, you wanted to know what he was doing. You wanted to know what he was saying. You wanted to know what he was up to. And this one, to me, kind of felt like, in the wake of Kilgrave kind of being absent, there wasn't any one big character or plot thread that really kind of effectively
drew you in.
Exactly. And and there is obviously a big piece to the plot that is, I think, intended to kind of be the forward momentum, but I think that based on the episode count, based on the pacing of it, it doesn't really draw you in as much as I think that something like Season 1 did with Kilgrave. That said, I did enjoy this season. I thought it was good. I don't think it was great, but I thought it was good. I think that it traded off some elements that were terrible from Season 1 and improved them, and it kind of absorbed some things that, it kind of brought some other things that weren't great either. So it's kind of a mixed bag in the way that I also think Season 1 was a mixed bag of there's some great stuff in here, and there's some stuff that's not so great in here. I would say in both cases, in both season 1 and season 2, I'd say that the good outweighs the bad. But there's enough of both that it kind of brings it down to, that good, not great level. So I would say that's kind of where I landed with this one. It's something that both of us, well, I guess you ended up binging, I think, most of it within a couple days, but at least in my experience, I watched this over the span of probably a week and a half, and I thought that I never felt really compelled to watch more than 2 or 3 consecutively, but I thought that was a good way to enjoy the show, because it wasn't one of those like, oh yeah, I need to find out what happens next. I mean, there are moments there when I'm like, I'm intrigued. All right, okay, what's going on here? I want to find out what's happening, but I was okay with waiting a day to find out what happened. It wasn't something that demanded that I stay up and not sleep just so I could find out what happened next. But that was also just kind of the way that we intentionally structured it, to give ourselves a little bit more time to absorb it, because I think that binging, there's certainly something to be said for the ability to binge and having that availability, but at the same time, you run into the issue of everything feeling very samey and blending together. And I think at least in my experience of spacing it out, I kind of avoided that problem entirely, which I kind of liked. What else do I want to talk about? I would like to shout out Kristen Ritter for being amazing. She's been great since episode 1 of season 1 as Jessica, but she is eminently watchable with everything that she does. I mean, I'll sit and watch Jessica just booze it up, and whatever she does, I'm intrigued by what she's doing. I think Kristen Ritter's choices with the character, her performance, and everything is just spectacular. And I do agree that the supporting cast got a big makeover in terms of giving a lot of depth to their characters. And I thought that the actors, responsible for those characters stepped it up in a big way. Also shouting out to Rachel Taylor as Trish and Ika Darville as Malcolm, who I think those are probably the 2 characters I think that got a lot of heavy lifting to do that their characters necessarily didn't demand in season 1. And
I tell you also who did good, the lawyer. What was her name?
Oh yes, yeah, Carrie Ann Moss, the Jerry Hogarth. I agree. Yeah, she had a lot to do here too, which I think she had a lot in season 1 as well. So I think that it's a different storyline, obviously, for her, but I think that relative to some of the other characters, I thought that she had a lot, especially with like her ex-wife and new lover or whatever. Like there was a lot of stuff going on in season 1 for her, that character. So I thought she had just as much heavy lifting to do this season, but it was in a different manner, and I agree, she was great as well. So I think that's where the character shines. I think that the characters in it are really well handled. I wish that
most of them. I think most of them are really well. The big ones are really well handled, I think. Anyways.
Well, I guess hold that thought. We'll probably touch on that in spoilers. But no, I thought that Jessica Jones herself was well handled. Personally, I thought that the supporting cast. I mean, I had some issues with certain things that they did with some of the characters, but I'll hold that thought myself. But I thought it was good. I mean, it's kind of weird to say it right now, but it feels like a middle chapter. Like I think they definitely tried to construct it in a way that there are places to take it for a season 3, and I fully expect it to get a season 3, probably a couple of years down the line. But I thought that, it kind of takes the characters in Empire Strikes Back type direction of, we're going to take them to some dark places. And we're going to put them through some of the most brutal challenges that they might face, and we'll see if they can, push through the adversity and see how they look on the other side. So I'm excited to see where they take these characters going forward. It actually reminded me of another movie that's not Empire Strikes Back, but for fear of spoilers, I will wait to specify what that is in the spoiler section, because I think that even just mentioning it might tip some people off as to what's going on. Anything to add, or you want to do some recommendations?
We can do recommendations.
All right, so recommendation-wise, where would you land on this one?
I would say, based on this season, if you watched season 1 and you watched The Defenders, you're gonna watch this. Or you should watch this. It's not worth deterring. Now, if you didn't watch Jessica Jones and you didn't, I feel like once you talk about a season 2, subsequently you're talking about everything that came before it. I wouldn't, based on this season right here, I wouldn't run out and watch Jessica Jones season 1. I wouldn't do it. I don't think there's enough there for me to recommend, hey, listen, this shit is so good, you need to get invested, watch the first season and then watch the second one. Now, I can say that for Daredevil season 2, I recommended you need to go back, you need to watch Daredevil season 1 so you can watch the shit that happens in season 2. I have recommended that to people before, but with this one, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not that I wouldn't recommend it. I can't recommend that. There's not enough going on in season 2 for me to say you need to invest yourself and spend the time watching 26 episodes of shit to get yourself through it. I would say if you're invested already, go ahead and get your return on investment by investing yourself in these characters. Otherwise, wait until season 3 comes out and let me tell you how that is, and then make a judgment call from there, because I think that there's going to be a huge return on investment in season 3.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. Yeah. Where season 3 might be the Return of the Jedi type setup, hopefully minus Ewoks in this case. But yeah, I think that it certainly feels like something that it's kind of setting things up for things to come, which. In the vein of kind of Age of Ultron, where it spent so much time trying to set up those plot threads for Infinity War, you kind of get yourself in trouble a little bit because, all right, well, I'm looking for the immediacy of this. Is this something that's immediately enjoyable? Is there something that I can immediately get value out of? And I think you can, but I think it is something that will greatly benefit with a couple years of hindsight as we hopefully move forward with these characters and see where they land. So I would say, on the whole, I agree with your assessment there. I think sounds like I enjoyed this a bit more than you did. But I would say certainly it's not anything that you need to drop what you're doing right now and start watching season 1 if you haven't already. But if you have watched season 1, I think you're definitely doing yourself a disservice if you don't pick up with season 2, because I think it's certainly a worthy successor. It takes it to places that might be challenging, that might be frustrating to watch, certainly. But I think it's in service of these characters and in service of the benefit of the universe as a whole. So, that's kind of where I would land on it. I guess, to be fair, The Defenders technically takes place between the first season and the second season here of Jessica Jones. So I honestly don't think it's necessary to watch The Defenders before you watch this.
No,
I think
I would
plot-wise, it's not really connected. I will say that certainly if you enjoy Jessica Jones as a character, you should watch The Defenders, at least for her, because she's fantastic in it, and I think that there's enough there that you can enjoy that aspect of it. Plus, it's a little bit shorter, which helps. That's kind of. It's kind of my recommendation on it. I did want to ask you if you had to stack them up against each other, if you would say season 1 or season 2 is the better of the two.
I'd say season 1.
Okay, I would agree overall. There's things in season 1 that, looking back, that just piss me off just thinking about it, because season 1 to me feels like it's on the cusp of being amazing, but it settles for being good.
There's like three episodes arcs, you know what I mean? It's got like this rhythm, and then every time it feels like it's ramping up to something, it squanders it, because then it gets repetitive. But at the same time, dude, Kilgrave that's just so it. I mean, it's got the highest highs of anything in the series. So, this season needed a Kilgrave type character to really kind of buoy it, and it doesn't have that. And I think that's its fatal flaw, is that it's all very good. I honestly think it's a better execution than season 1. It's definitely consistent. It's a consistent.
I agree. I think it's more consistently good, but it's not. It never quite reaches those highs. So, I think it's kind of the same thing with Daredevil season 1 and 2, where maybe a little bit different, but I think that Daredevil Season 2 had those high highs that made up for the lows, and that's why I enjoyed it more than Season 1, even though Season 1 was a more consistent execution across the board in the way that Season 2 here is the more consistent execution across the board. So in terms of the other Marvel Netflix shows, I think that it's probably below... I don't remember exactly where I put Jessica Jones relative to all of them, but I think it's better than it's easily better than fucking Iron Fist. That's kind of a joke. But I think it's better than Defenders. I think it's better than Luke Cage Season 1. I think I would probably slide it below both seasons of Daredevil, probably just below the first season of Jessica Jones and the first season of Punisher, if I had to kind of put it in there somewhere. So that's kind of a loose ranking, I guess, but would you disagree with that?
Oh, God. I don't think I'm ready for that kind of commitment.
That analysis. So I said, we don't have to, you can speak purely in terms of shows. In
terms of shows, I think Punisher was excellent. I really enjoyed Punisher all the way around. I think that was a very consistent show. And then Daredevil Season 2 was excellent, I thought. So those two are my top twos, and I don't think that this one follows a third. I don't think it'll hold my third spot, but it is a good character piece. It is fine. You go into a superhero show expecting something more than what this gave. I think I didn't get a whole lot from it.
I don't agree with that. I don't think it's a superhero show. I think we've talked about that very distinction when we were talking about Legion, and I think in the way that Legion isn't a superhero show, this is also not a superhero show.
Jessica spends her whole time avoiding being a superhero, so that's fair. That's a fair statement.
So maybe if that's your expectation walking in, certainly if you haven't watched any of this shows, don't walk into Jessica Jones expecting a superhero show, because it is very much not that. It's
about somebody not wanting to be a superhero.
It's far more concerned with everything else than it is with a character that has powers. So, season 1, I think, leaned into that a lot more. Certainly, we had Luke Cage in season 1, we had Kilgrave in season 1, all powered characters, and then this one, I think, deals with that a little bit less. Actually, I don't know. That's not entirely true, but I felt that season 1 felt a bit more comic booky with its elements in terms of kind of the leaning into the superheroing aspects of it, and this one was just...
There wasn't its priority. There wasn't a whole lot bringing me back to play each episode, and that's my biggest critique of the show. It didn't have a driving force. So, it was a good character piece. I felt invested in the characters. I enjoyed the arcs that the characters went on, but at the same time, there wasn't something that kept me coming. For example, if this was a week-to-week show, okay, I'm not sure that I would have made the investment every single week to watch an episode. I'm not sure if I would have done it. And now, being that it's on Netflix, it's a lot easier to do that because you can just hit play and you don't have to go back to it. But it was just okay. It wasn't bad. It was a well-made show, and it was well acted. And I don't want to sell it too short, but it was just okay. It was just an okay show. I can't say a whole lot bad about it because it was okay. But I feel like season 1 had a driving force behind it, and that was largely absent for the majority of the show, I think. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to agree and disagree with you. I think okay is underselling it personally. I think it's good, but I agree with every reason that you've stipulated for why you feel that way. So, with that, shall we get into spoilers on this?
Spoilers.
All right, full spoilers for Marvel's Jessica Jones Season 2. So, I did want to expand on what I talked about earlier when I was saying that it reminded me of a specific movie, and that movie is a Marvel movie by the name of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I felt that, structurally speaking, this movie hit on a lot of the same beats that movie did. So I don't know how intentional that was, but there's certainly some similarities in plot elements. Shall we say.
Damn, take a dive. Let me hear about it.
Well, I think kind of before we get into probably the biggest thing that, the biggest quote-unquote hook I think that the season offered, which obviously didn't really captivate us as much as Kilgrave did. But I think before we get to that, I did want to talk about, those characters we talked about. We talked about the supporting characters going through some shit, really kind of diving into these characters a lot more than we did, I think, in season 1. And I think that that's what Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 did, certainly with Rocket, certainly with someone like Yondu.
That's true, yeah.
And I think that this one did exactly that with, I would say, principally with Trish and Malcolm. But I also agree that Hogarth, I think, definitely went through some shit too. But she also went through some shit in the first season, I think, relative to... I guess they all went through some shit, to be fair. But, I mean, Trish has gone fucking mad, man. She is going through some shit.
Trish, yes.
And I've seen a lot of people online very frustrated with Trish's character, and I fully understand that as a viewer, but I think it's actually really compelling to kind of watch her as this slowly unfolding train wreck of a person. And a lot of it makes sense because as the show kind of explores, I mean, she's a drug addict that's basically relapsing throughout the course of this second season. They talk about the child abuse that she went through
Holy shit,
on the
man.
show, and I was just like, well, that's topical, isn't it? There's a lot of stuff in here that I'm just like, this is fucking dark. This is dark content that they're really dealing with right now. And seeing Trish kind of go on that journey of just being completely off her rocker for most of the thing, in search of having powers, in search of kind of being a hero. I mean, that's kind of her draw, and
not feeling defenseless. She's a very compelling character.
I agree. I think she's great. I think Rachel Taylor is great in this show as Trish. I mean, certainly her actions in this show, like pretty much everything she does, you're just kind of like, oh no, what do you do? No, please don't do that. There's a lot of that, as a viewer, kind of, on the outside looking in, but I think that it's very fascinating to see her character explored in these ways. And I think that it's something that, as possibly a build up to her becoming Hellcat in the future, I think that it's very interesting. It's very interesting to kind of see her on this very shaky journey towards becoming a quote unquote hero. I mean, does she become a hero? I mean, shit, she's almost a villain in some. I mean, she is kind of a villain of this certainly this season in some ways, I would argue. So I really liked Trish in this season. I mean, I didn't like Trish, for what she did, but I thought the exploration of her character in this was really, really well done. And I thought that Malcolm had a lot to play with here too.
Sure.
I mean, season 1, he's pretty much just a, whacked out of his mind drug addict at the hands of Kilgrave, as we learn. But this one, we see a fully functioning Malcolm who, as it turns out, I mean, he's trading one addiction for another in some ways.
And see, that's where I kind of had a conflict, because at the end of the series, Jessica calls him out on it, right?
Yeah,
he's just a banging machine. Apparently, he's working out and he's banging. That's what he's doing. But how was that in the first episode or second episode? Jessica's banging some dude in the bathroom of a bar. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know that Jessica certainly isn't the role model for anyone in this show,
especially for addiction.
It doesn't mean she's wrong.
No, it doesn't mean she's wrong. You're absolutely right. Just she doesn't really stand on a pedestal.
No, I agree. She's certainly hypocritical, certainly in how she kind of deals with a lot of things. But I think she does care about people in her own Jessica sort of way. But she's just kind of a fucked up head case in her own right, for obvious reasons. That season 1 explores pretty dramatically. So I agree with you, but I don't.
It's interesting to see how Malcolm and Trish traded roles, because essentially they did, right? I guess not really, because Malcolm started out.
They also traded fluids.
They did trade fluids, yes. But I don't know. I think Trish is incredibly compelling. I think Malcolm's he's 10 times more interesting this season than he was the first season.
100%. I think that to me is what I enjoyed about this season more, is that the supporting characters just had so much more to chew on, and most of them weren't completely aggravating to watch. Like her neighbors. Well, obviously one of them's dead by the end of season 1, but not a single mention of Robin, who I think is the worst character in the entirety of the Marvel Netflix universe. Someone can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but her character, I mean, honestly, her character for me is so bad that she is the one reason I would legitimately entertain the thought on that alone that season 2 is automatically better than season 1, is because she's not in it.
The absence of Robin.
She is that bad. but it's telling that I put season 1 above season 2. It's telling that there's a lot more in season 1 than just Robin that outweighs, because she is the lowest of the lows. She is Diamondback on steroids. If we're going to draw on that Luke Cage comparison. So
Hogarth though, man.
Hogarth.
Hogarth had some heart. Oh man.
Yeah. That was She went through some shit, definitely. Certainly kind of confronting, the concept of mortality with the ALS diagnosis and getting fucking scammed by those two shitbags. Like, yeah, it was.
And she gets him back so fucking hard too.
She does get him back. She finds some renewed purpose, certainly by the end of the show, and she definitely gets some comeuppance. It was satisfying. Fucked up, yes, but everyone's fucked up in this show, so you just revel in the fucked up nature of everything that's going on.
The revels.
Yes, the revels.
But yeah, the Hogarth was, I don't know, I think Hogarth and Trish might be my two favorites. My two MVPs, if you will, of the show. I really enjoyed those ladies. They were really good.
I'd say Hogarth is probably more of an MVP. I think that Trish is an LVP. In terms of what her character does, but in terms of performances, in terms of the compelling nature of their characters, I would agree from that standpoint. Where they're interesting to watch.
And I would actually say, not to cut you off or anything, but the reason I keep coming back for the episodes is to see what the fuck Trish did to herself or the people around her, and to find out what's going on with Hogarth.
Okay, interesting. I actually thought the Hogarth storyline for the beginning part of the season was kind of like, all right, where's this leading to? Where is this leading to? But I thought that by the end, I was like, okay, this is good. Especially like, she was trying to blackmail her partners, and like that storyline disappeared for like 6 episodes. They got back to it obviously by the finale, but I was just like, all right, they're gonna pick up on that storyline at some point. I mean, we knew that, based on what you did with season 1. I certainly expected Hogarth. We're like, all right, what fucked up shit's she gonna do to try to heal herself this time? And I thought, in the scheme of things, she didn't get quite as out of control as she did in season 1. Which I gotta say, shouldn't she have like scars all over her face and everywhere from season 1? Like, she's in real good condition, so whatever healing she got done between seasons, she needs to probably just go back to that. Or she could just call up Danny Rand, the man who can focus his chi and heal people. Didn't he literally do that in his own show? Literally she his lawyer?
Yeah.
Is that an Iron Fist season 2 storyline waiting to happen?
That's 65% of her billable hours go to Rand.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, he's like, Rand is name dropped in this, and I was like, she probably doesn't know that he has that capability, but maybe she'll casually mention, oh yeah, I'm gonna lose all motor control of my entire body, and Danny's like, I can fix that. I can do something useful. Ha! I'm the immortal Iron Fist, the protector of Kunlun. Sworn enemy of the hand.
Fucking Danny Rand.
But let's talk about probably the biggest plot twist, I guess, in this, and where I also tie it back to the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 comparison of, you've got a parental figure kind of returning to the forefront. So in Guardians, it was Ego, it was Peter Quill dealing with Ego. In this, it's Jessica Jones dealing with her mother, who she had for 17 years thought was dead, and come to find out she received very similar treatment at the hands of IGH, and has a very similar power set to her, but she's unstable, and so she's kind of been kept in hiding from her until the events of season 2 unfold, and they kind of meet each other for the first time in 17 years. So I will say, for the first few episodes of the season before they dropped the big reveal that the killer, the lady that they were searching for, I had this sneaking suspicion. I think there was enough hints that it's not. I'm not sure I'm not the only one that thought it. I was like, don't make it her mom. Like, it's gonna feel like way too much of a jumping the shark kind of moment for me. And then they did it, and I'm like, oh no.
Surprise! It's your mommy. Yeah, I said the I was doing the same thing. It's going to be her fucking mom, dude. It's going to be her mom.
It just felt to me like such an obvious way to take it. And I was just like, please subvert my expectations. Please don't go exactly the way I'm expecting this to go. And it went exactly the way I was expecting it to go. I was pleasantly surprised that the rest of the family, as far as we know, is still dead for realsies. But I did think that initially my reaction to that was, oh no. Like it felt like that Luke Cage sharp divide of, wow, this is going to go off a cliff real quick. That said, I thought that the overall storyline was handled fairly well. I thought, once we got kind of a little bit more of the backstory, I was like, okay, I can kind of, it took me a little bit of time to kind of come to terms with it, I guess. Like I said, I was kind of just disappointed that they kind of decided to take it in such an obvious direction. But I thought that overall it was good. It wasn't, it's not, her character, she is not Kilgrave. She is not a Kilgrave replacement.
Definitely
I don't
not.
think she's that interesting. I think it's good because it takes Jessica to some unexpected places, and I thought that, okay, it's a fairly obvious, but it's a decent way of immediately tying the present storyline of the show with the past storyline of the show by exploring Jessica's backstory with IGH. How did she get those powers? All that sort of stuff. I thought that, okay, it's a pretty reasonable way of bringing everything kind of all together. I just think that it went too long. I think that was just really kind of the biggest issue I had with it, is that the initial build up to it, okay, the somewhat disappointment of the reveal, and then just the, okay, she's with her in hiding, Jessica's conflicted, we get it, and then I was like, okay, and they surprised me by having her go to jail. I was like, okay, all right, I was like, I wasn't expecting that turn then and there. I kind of thought that was just a fake out. And then of course it's just, but then, once that happens, you're like, well, she's probably not going to survive the season in jail, if I had to guess about how this is going. So I think things went fairly predictable from that point in terms of kind of where their storylines took them and stuff like that. The only thing that really kind of surprised me is Trisha's teleporting ability at the end, and popping a cap. I was definitely a little surprised by that. It was another one for me. I was just like, this is a little jump in the shark-esque. It's a little too much, I think. I get why Trish was there, but she definitely got there way fucking fast for kind of how they framed that whole storyline. It's an interesting concept. I think it allows the show the opportunity to explore some interesting themes. With Jessica, it takes her to some pretty hard emotional spots. I thought, it was kind of interesting when we saw the flashback Jessica with her shitty boyfriend, that she just fucking, smashes his brains against the wall. It was pretty dark. Again, everything's dark in this show. But there's a lot of territory here that it was appropriately interesting. It just wasn't that interesting. I don't think it was as interesting as I think they probably intended it to be, for me anyway. So, Where did you land on that whole storyline?
I was disappointed to find out it was Mama. I don't
Mama
think
Jones?
Yeah, Mama Jones. Mama J. Jones didn't really do a whole lot for me. She didn't do a whole lot for me with her. I don't want to sound like a dick. I don't think she was very well acted. I don't know. I didn't care for the whole thing. I thought the dude who kept wearing band t-shirts was all right. I thought he was cool.
Yeah. His last name's literally Malice, which is kind of like, is this guy evil? Who's to say? I think that actually is a comic book character, and that's a very comic book name, so I forgive him for that.
But I didn't know. I didn't enjoy, like I said, I didn't enjoy that whole thing. It did put Jessica in a spot to struggle, and put her in a spot to grow. Which was interesting. But aside from that, it felt very contrived, and it just kind of felt stupid. I really didn't enjoy it a whole lot. I did enjoy Trish seeking out a permanent solution to her want to feel powered. So in that sense, I felt that felt earned. I thought that was fun. I thought that was good, and not really fun, but it was interesting to see that downward spiral for her. And I enjoyed the. I'm probably hopping around here. I'm just kind of dumping everything that I really enjoyed. I did enjoy the Kilgrave, Jessica losing her mind after she kills that guard,
which I thought that was a really good storyline.
It was.
I thought that whole episode there if I had to pick a favorite episode, I'm cutting you off now.
That would be it.
That would be my favorite episode because David Tennant is fucking wonderful.
It goes back to Tennant again, doesn't it? Yeah.
He's incredible. He is incredible. And, you know, I honestly am kind of sad because one of the first promo pictures they released for season 2 had Tennant in it. And I'm like, okay, obviously they were probably filming on a set that people were going to spot him, but I was expecting a little bit more Tennant in this, and we got one episode of it, and an amazing episode it was, but I was just like, that's the kind of thing that I wish I did not know about walking in. And that's partially my fault in some ways, because obviously this is just shit that I look up on a regular basis, but it is also the fault of, that was one of the first things that they showed as part of their marketing campaign is, look, he's back, baby. And it's just great. Yeah, I mean, he was great though. He was spectacular, and I thought that it was a really clever device to have her kind of as her, you know, walking, talking guilt, and just everything he said was amazing.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome. I think that I really feel like the mom was the lowest point of the show, and especially because the entire season, all 13 episodes centered around it, and I don't know. It really didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I think that if you made an 8-episode version of that arc, I think that it plays better. I think it's just too stretched out. You know,
yeah,
it's not that compelling enough to justify it as your anchor point for an entire season. I don't think. I mean, that's why I think the other, you know, the supporting characters shine, is because they're, they're obviously working through that a bit, but I mean, that's Jessica's pretty much one and only focus throughout basically the entire season.
And maybe that's why a lot of those other characters seem a lot stronger than they did the first time, because it's not the center, you know, or maybe, you know, because that main thread is so thin. There's a lot more meat on the bone for everybody else to kind of chew on. Because there is a whole lot of stuff going on in this season that doesn't involve Jessica in a large way, you know? So I don't know. I like I said, I found myself not watching the show for Jessica and watching it for Trish, Malcolm, and Hogarth. And be that what it is, I don't know. But it was the mother arc, just like I said, it fell short probably 4 episodes too short. You know what I mean? Or too long, or whatever I'm trying to say. It went on too long. So that's how I felt about that. I tell you who I hated with, like, I was happy to see him on the screen, but I hated his character, was the fucking Chang.
Yeah, Price Chang.
Yeah.
Good old Terry Chen, man.
Yeah.
I saw him pop up, and I was like, fuck yeah, Prax is in this? All right. That's cool. Cool.
He pops up, and I'm just like, oh, God, that fucking dude's back. And he always pops up, and he's a total douchebag every time he's on screen.
Yeah,
but...
I expected a moment where they would, like, team up or something, and he wouldn't be, like, such a dickbag. But no, he was just a dickbag through the entire season.
And it was great.
I found it a little ridiculous when he's, like, shooting them from across the building. I was just like...
I laughed my ass off. Because
right.
They're shooting each other from across the building in an episode. I was like, fuck, that might be one of the episodes where I was like, oh, I gotta see who's shooting at him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I kind of left with that question, and that was one where I think I stopped for the day and then came back to it the next day and watched it. I'm like,
it's fucking Chang.
I was like, all right. I mean, that seems like a bit of a leap of logic, but I guess he's taking matters into his own hands. He's feeling a little Frank Castle in him.
He's fucked up. He's pissed. So yeah, Chang was pretty great. Even though he's just a complete douchebag the entire time. There were high points of the show. I know I sounded like I hated watching it, but I didn't hate watching it. It didn't. Jessica and Kilgrave are the reasons I came back for. I was there for season 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like in this season I was there for everyone else. I don't know. It just kind of didn't feel like a Jessica show. It felt like the supporting cast of Jessica, which is fine. It's still a Jessica Jones show and blah 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 blah. But everybody else was very strong in this show, with the exception of probably the mom, I would say.
Well, I mean, that's just your opinion, man.
That's it. I did enjoy Trish getting high on the inhaler and kicking the dude off the bus and just losing her shit and being hyper aggressive. I did enjoy that. I think that drug is fun to watch people on in the show.
Well, speaking of that, we did get the return of Will Simpson, Nuke himself, who I briefly talked about earlier in this episode, while hopefully not spoiling the fact that he's definitely dead now. I was trying to get around that when I was talking about him. Supposed to be, he's a big part of the Born Again storyline in the Daredevil comics, and I don't think that's going to be happening unless they recover his half, his mangled, broken neck body from the ocean. So
they showed two people with broken necks, man. It's very unsettling.
Their heads just like completely twisted around too. Yeah,
it's very unsettling imagery.
Yeah. But I was surprised that they dispatched him that quickly. I don't know if Will Trevall had some other TV shows he needed to get to, but I was very surprised that they brought him back and then just immediately
snapped his neck.
Yeah, we're done with this character. So I was a little disappointed by that. I thought they could have taken his character into some new interesting directions, even if it wasn't this season. I think maybe going forward could have been good, or literally in Daredevil season 3 if they wanted to kind of cross the lines between the shows. I think that would have been good, but clearly they had other ideas, and that's totally fine. I did appreciate Turk Barrett coming back in his nice Porsche, Turk Barrett baby, and then I did also want to shout out our boy Foggy Nelson in the most hilariously unnecessary cameo probably in this entire Marvel Netflix universe. What does he pop up for? Literally one scene. Jerry tells him to fuck off, and then he's never seen again. Am I incorrect in saying that?
That's it. It was
I
pretty
thought
good.
That was pretty good. I mean, it's fun to see. Obviously, the characters kind of cross-pollinate in that way. But I was just like, I thought he would have something to do for at least an episode, not literally just one scene of "Get the fuck out of here, Foggy. I don't answer to you, bitch." So yeah. What else can we talk about? The Wizard. The Wizard was pretty good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Whizzing about.
I enjoyed his little running legs.
Yeah, it was a little goofy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was goofy.
I liked Oscar, the super. I thought that was a good character, and a very big trade up from her previous neighbors, as we've talked about.
Yeah, no, he was good.
I thought that the pairing between him and Jessica was good, and I thought that they had good moments together. I'm a little worried about the future for him. I'm still expecting them to kind of work their way back towards Jessica and Luke, but certainly it doesn't seem like they're in any rush to get there, if that is their end game, because I think Luke's still having coffee with Claire, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Lots of Colombian coffee. I think
lots of Colombian coffee, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, but I thought his character was a good addition. J.R. Ramirez, he was actually an Arrow on season 3, and he was completely wasted. So I was happy to see him get a bit more of a meaty role here to kind of sink his teeth into, and I thought he did a good job with it. So that probably covers it, right? I mean, yeah. Season 3. I mean, you're on board for a season 3, assuming it gets renewed.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll definitely watch season 3.
Yeah, I'm expecting Hellcat in costume. Would be my expectation. For those who don't know, if you don't know, for our listeners who don't know, Trish Patsy Walker is the super hero Hellcat in the comics.
I'm excited to see that, man.
I would like to see a full costume version of her. I mean, if there's one character in the show, I mean, I don't expect to see Jessica Jones suiting up as Jewel or anything in this anytime soon. There was a cheeky reference to it in season 1 that Jessica's just like, bitch, no. I expect a powered version of, a somewhat powered version. I think it's probably going to be, certainly we saw some super reflexes going on in that last episode, but I'm curious. I imagine she'll probably have some sort of increased strength or something like that. But I also fully expect her to get fucked up pretty early on in season 3. Because I don't know, she's on a dark path, and I think even if she's got these motivations of being a hero, I kind of see it going a kick-ass type direction where everyone's like, we're going to be a superhero, and then everyone just gets horribly maimed. I kind of see it possibly heading that direction. Unfortunately for Trish, but I think that'll be interesting. I think Jessica, we kind of leave her, and she's trying to get her shit together as much as she can. I mean, she's been through the ringer, but having a nice family dinner, I thought that was a nice gesture. Throwing some bottles at some burglars or some robbers' heads. I thought that was fun. That was a fun scene. But it does seem like everyone's kind of in a pretty dark fucking place overall. It's a little Civil War-esque, the Marvel Civil War, the Captain America Civil War I'm referring to this time, where everyone's just kind of, obviously there's a pretty big split between certainly Jessica and Trish, so that's kind of an interesting spot. It's a little Iron Man, Captain America-esque, so I have to wonder, when season 3 comes around, I feel like there's got to be some sort of Thanos-type threat that kind of has to push them back together. So what that is, obviously we'll kind of have to wait and see. I mean, technically Thanos is coming to wreck shit in this universe, assuming they're all connected. But I'm not expecting season 3 to, maybe we'll get a reference on a newspaper to Thanos, probably. So, yeah, I think that will do it. I think I'm Jessica Jones'd out for the night. What have you been up to? You said you took the day off work and watched some shit. So
yeah, I watched Jessica Jones.
Oh, did you now?
Yeah, finished that. I did finish. I watched season 5 of Voltron.
Oh, okay, all right. Seems like they're putting those things out pretty frequently.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, it was okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's Voltron. It's okay.
Get around to it when you get around to it.
Exactly. Something to watch when you're not feeling well. And I did catch Jared Leto's The Outsider.
Okay. Well, what did you think about that?
Which is currently pacing at, I checked last night, it's at 22% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I saw that. It's on my list, along with Mute, of Netflix movies that I'll get around to eventually, but apparently suck ass, so they're not a priority. So would you say that this one is worthy of that 20-ish%?
Listen, I personally feel, okay, if I have a 0 to 100% ranking system...
Now, it also is worth mentioning that Rotten Tomatoes is literally just a review aggregate of... That means that 22% of critics gave it a favorable rating. Not that it's a 2 out of 10 movie. So bear that in mind.
Right. Yes. It's not a 2 out of 10 movie. Okay, it's not. I feel like a 2 out of 10 movie is something that I pissed off after I watched. You know what I mean? Like
another Jared Leto movie by the name of Suicide Squad.
Yes. I'm pissed off that I watched that movie. I'm pissed off that I spent money on it, which I can't remember if I spent money on that or not, but it did use 2 hours of my time, and I'm pissed off about it. Okay, that's not this movie. This movie's very bland. It's unoriginal. It's just something to watch. It's on the right medium. Stream it if you want to. You know what I mean? But it's I don't know. It's a 5 out of 10 movie for me. It's just right there in the middle. Didn't really do anything great or out of the ordinary, and it didn't do anything egregiously bad. So that's my opinion on that one. I really would like to see Jared. I really enjoyed him in Blade Runner 2049, and I really enjoyed him in Requiem for a Dream. I just wish he would play in more better shit, but he doesn't. So, it is what it is. Take him where you can find him in the good stuff, and leave them in the bad stuff, I guess. But it's okay when you get around to it. If you have a couple beers after you go to a brewery or whatever, and you just want to watch something, stream it, and you'll fall asleep watching it, and you'll be all right. You won't be too happy. I mean, you'll be okay.
Holy shit! What a recommendation.
That's it. So, what have you been up to?
Well, I watched a movie by the name of Thoroughbreds.
What's that all about?
And it was really good. It is starring Olivia Cooke and Anya Taylor-Joy. It is about they're two girls basically. They're kind of two childhood friends that kind of reconnect after one of the girls kind of she's kind of a little crazy in the head, and she kind of suggests this idea that the other girl kill her stepdad, who she hates.
Oh, I saw the trailer for this.
So yeah, it's kind of that. So it's just kind of about them two kind of plotting to kill the stepdad, so I mean, it's a little bit more than that, obviously, within the movie itself. But as a kind of a general synopsis of the plot, that's kind of what it is, and it is really good. both Olivia Cooke and Anya Taylor-Joy are amazing in it. I'm less familiar with Olivia Cooke's work. I think she was on Bates Motel. I know she's going to be in Ready Player One, coming out very soon. And Anya Taylor-Joy is the daughter in The Vivitch. And she's also going to be Magic in the New Mutants if they ever stop delaying that movie. But no, they're both really good, and they're both great in this movie. And it also has the late Anton Yelchin in it, which I didn't realize walking in, and it's kind of a bummer watching him in a movie. You know, it's kind of I mean, it is heartbreaking. You know, thinking about what happened to him. You know, that's a life lost at a really young age, and a really talented actor as well. So obviously, this was filmed before his death. I looked it up, and I think that filming wrapped like maybe less than 2 weeks before he died. So that was definitely pretty sad to kind of watch, especially when I didn't know he was going to be in the movie walking in. But I thought it was great. It's a very dark movie. I've been watching some dark shit, I guess, this week is kind of the bottom line. But it's definitely well worth your time. It's not a movie I don't think that's for everyone, but I would go out on a limb and say that you would enjoy this greatly, Andrew. So I think that if you have time to see it while it's in theaters, certainly give it a look. If not, definitely give it a Blu-ray purchase whenever you get a chance. So that's the only thing that I've been watching. I mean, technically, to be fair, it's only been a few days since we recorded our Tomb Raider episode, so we're working on a short week in some ways for recording this. I have continued reading Abaddon's Gate. I am not much further into it than I was, I think, last time I talked about it, but I am far enough that I've been introduced to all the POV characters in it. Got a pretty decent grasp on kind of where the storyline's heading and how the characters are probably going to converge and kind of the general, gist of the whole thing. And I'm enjoying it so far.
Awesome.
So I intend to push on with my quest to finish it before season 3 of The Expanse airs. I don't know if I'll quite make it, but at the same time, there's still a lot of book 2 material that is left to cover within season 3 of The Expanse. So I have a feeling that I'll probably be good pacing wise to not see any new content on the screen before I get to it in the book anyway. So that's it for me. Is that it for both of us then?
That's it for both of us, man.
All right. Well, in that case, I want to say thank you guys for listening. Oh man, I had a catchphrase. I didn't even write the catchphrase. What was the catchphrase we used? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay. No, if you have it, say it. I just remembered. I was looking at it and I'm like, shit. What was it? I did meant to write it down. But if you remember it, please tell our listeners.
No, I can't remember. Go ahead.
I can't remember. I did remember it. If you enjoyed what you heard, spread the word. Trademark.
And you heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Yep. Yeah, that one's also one of our trademarks that we filed recently. As I mentioned, check us out on Patreon if you'd like to listen to our newest bonus episode on the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 2, patreon.com/watch review repeat. Otherwise, you can find everything for your watch review repeat related needs at our website, www.watchreviewrepeat.com. Follow us on Twitter at WRRPod. Like us on Facebook. Send us anything you would like. Maybe not dick pics, but anything else would be fine. To our Gmail account, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And our next episode, we're going to be talking about a movie called Pacific Rim Uprising.
Oh, yes. I excite.
There's going to be plenty of Jaegers and plenty of kaiju and hopefully plenty of fighting. We can only hope, right?
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. So look forward to that. Until then, I will leave you with the message once sang by the lovely Trish Walker. I want your cray-cray. So Look it up on YouTube if you don't know what that means, because
I want you, Craig.
I meant to mention that in the body of our episode, but I
So
forgot about it. But it was worth a last minute mention. I wanted to get it in there somewhere. So also David Tennant's rendition of it is also equally excellent. So that will actually do it for me. Then we'll catch you guys on our next episode. Have a good one.
What's he say? What's the man say? I'll catch you. Fuck. What is it?
Latest on the Menjay?
Yes.
Is that what you're looking for?
That's what I was looking for.
All right. Well, I'll let you repeat it so I can take us out on that.
I can't do it.
Why not? It's a simple phrase.
Latest on the Minjay. Is that how he says it?
Yeah, that was perfect. That was perfect.
Latest on the Minjay. Fucking latest on the Minjay. What the fuck?